biggest radio station, 91.2 Crooze FM, great music, great friends. Good morning. My name is Kizza Besigye. Right after the urban breakfast, 7 minutes past 9 o'clock, the 6th day of April 2024. We are on Moti Lane, plot 12, in the land of milk and honey in Barra City is where we're airing. But don't forget, you can be able to catch the show online on www.cruisefm.com/stream and on Crooze TV for the television on YouTube and TikTok. With me in studio is Muhanje Spencer, who is a member of the de facto FDC Katonga. From Rukunjiri here, Mr. Aporutumsime, he belongs to the Alliance for the National Transformation. I have two lawyers in Henry Nwamanya and Bwenje Deus did it. Peter Mpaka belongs to the National Inter Platform. Let me give you a recap of the week and we get into our topic of discussion. I put the topics on our social media handles, 912 Crooze FM on X and 91.2 Crooze FM on Instagram and Facebook. For those that want to get to contribute to the show. But later on in the show, you'll get an opportunity to call in on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. New ministers were sworn in as ex-official members of parliament. We know that in the law, the president is only given a right to appoint members of cabinet from members of parliament. Now he is also given an opportunity to appoint members that are not members of parliament into cabinet. Those take an oath as ex-official members of parliament. So we saw the former private secretary to the president, Dr. Kenneth Omona, and Bargahara Balam, who is the new minister for youth, take that oath right there. The United States and the United Nations Agency on Human Rights have separately condemned Uganda's Constitutional Court decision to uphold the Anti-Homosexuality Act that was enacted in May. We know that the Constitutional Court made a judgment where they indeed concurred with the movers of that bill that was assented by the president, with an exception of a few sections there that feel were in violation of the spirit of the Constitution. But by and large, the Anti-Homosexuality Act is law and enforceable, and it's created a lot of hullabaloo throughout the whole week. But certainly, the petitioners are already in high drive to petition the Supreme Court for final determination on the same. Now, universities have started adjusting the semester to comply with the Ministry of Education's directive to break off for the upcoming census exercise slated to take place between the 10th and the 20th of next month. So we know for sure that during that time, a couple of universities will be writing their exams for the final year, but that is going to be pushed up to past 20th of May. Right there. Now, the prices of goods and services are expected to increase in this new financial year of 2024-2025, trying to garner for about 58 trillion shillings. Some of those that have some increase in the excise duty is land fuel, drinking water. Now that one also, and a couple of other issues that we know now, mobile money agency and whatever. They've had some excise duty slapped on there, so we shall see a spike in prices. That is a matter that all of us should get our interest in. But we know that government is interested in cutting expenditures and reducing the borrowing from both domestic and external sources. Our topic of discussion this morning is on the FDC Katonga faction, led by retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye, embarked on a national-wide mobilization campaign to generate support for members of the party as they plan on creating a new formation, call it a new political party. But engineer Amriat Patrick has already threatened to sue Dr. Besigye and his counterparts for using the FDC party slogans, colors, and symbols. To help me discuss this and much more, the men in studio. Let me say hello and have them say hello to the listener, and we get into our topic of discussion. Good morning, Bwenje Deus did it, and welcome to the big set.
Oh, you excuse me. Yes, as a matter of fact, I want to start off by saying that it has been a very sad week for the people of Uganda, especially in as far as the road carnage is taking away the lives of our people. We continue to have very bad roads in our country, even here in Ushenyi, and so I call upon the government of the Republic of Uganda to improve on the road network, because we cannot continue dying on the roads, on the streets, and so forth. And of course, as the National Revolution for the Restoration of Uganda, we condemn, of course, it's a pressure group. So we continue to condemn the torture on the people of Uganda by the security forces, and we call upon the CDF especially, as a person who is studied and who is educated, to rein in on his security forces, especially the UPDF. We continue to see instances of torture, of harshness by the UPDF. And so we call upon him to exercise restraint and to inform his people of what the human rights are. And of course, as regards the decision of the Constitutional Court, it was a nightmare. It was a very dark day for the people of Uganda. Yes, because such a decision cannot have space in a democracy like Uganda. I think the land justices of the Constitutional Court, they gave it a narrow interpretation. Of course, the right to culture, we cannot be slaves of our own culture. The days of bigotry, of hatred, sectarianism are long gone. All of us are equal, whether gay or not, straight or not. I think we should all have the chance to be happy in a Uganda, which we want. So, on the other hand, also, I want to encourage whatever students of law, especially students of human rights and students of constitutionalism, to read that case. It is very rich in jurisprudence, in terms of human rights, in terms of the principles of constitutional interpretation. So actually, it was a very good exposition of the Constitution. The entire Constitution was dissected in just a single judgment. So I appreciate the justices of the Constitutional Court for being so detailed. Although the outcome of the case, of course, was negative, but they did a good job in terms of dissecting the provisions of the Constitution one by one.
Okay,
well, thank them for that.
Welcome, Bwenze Daos did it. Good morning, Peter Mpaka, and welcome to the Big Set.
Thank you, West J. Of course, the results of the case were positive rather than negative, like my colleague has said. And for us, we celebrate the ruling. And I want to join all the men that love women, all the men that are kissists and are heterosexists, that I think it's a win for us. We cannot encourage moral decadence. We cannot encourage imperialists imposing their unnatural orientations onto us. I want to call upon all the youth and people who have a mind like that of Wenje, that you should visit my church and I reorient you and rementor you and give you clear guidance, because God cannot give you a whole city of Kabarole and it's all yours, and then for you want to concentrate on some ventilator somewhere. I wish you a good cruising this morning.
Good morning and welcome to the Big Set. Yes, Henry Nwamanya, good morning and welcome to the Big Set.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Besigye. It's always a pleasure being hosted here. I implore the people out there to listen to us, maybe to give a few comments on the Anti-Homosexuality Act. I believe Uganda is a country governed by rule of law, and whoever is always aggrieved by a court decision, they have a right to appeal, and there's still room and gap to appeal to the Supreme Court by the people who still hold belief that particular human rights have been violated. Also, in another positive class, I would love to, highlight the issue of people who used to laugh at Balam Barugahara. I believe now they are trying to admire what he's going through and the position he's holding. Last time I was here and told you, Mr. Banyaji, that Ugandans are suffering from a misguided sense of self-importance. That's why you hear people regarding fellows like novices and useful idiots. But to their surprise, utter surprise, some of those guys are proving them wrong. On the issue of my land colleague, Mr. Wenje, commenting on the human rights, I also implore the students out there to, go ahead and read that decision. It is a very interesting one, and for those who ascribe to jurisprudence of law, you know that in the realism school of thought by the Scandinavian realists and American realists like Justice Benjamin Cardozo, they align to ascribe that the decisions of what judges come up with and nothing else, in fact, is what they mean by law. But that case digests particular principles of constitutional interpretation, and for those studying legal methods and everything, you're going to take interest in it, and please do. Otherwise, I call upon the people out there to pay a listening ear and contribute in the show. I thank you so much, and I welcome all the other panelists.
Welcome, Mr. Henry Nwamanya there. Good morning, Spencer, and welcome to the Big Set.
Yes, good morning, my friend Banyaji, fellow panelists and listeners out there. It was a sad week. There was a very unfortunate incident in Kampala. Someone had gone somewhere to get something for lunch, and then something strange. And then
say it for what it is.
No, it is very sad, because it is not something simple. You are eating and then you find a very productive organ of a young child, particularly penis, in the food that you are just eating. It was very unfortunate. And then I want to comment on the Anti-Homosexuality Act. In fact, it was a good package of the week and very good news from the judiciary. And I'm very much disappointed with the versatile brains in the country, the likes of Andrew Mwenda, Haile Land, and Fox Odoi. And when I see my colleague here trying to consent to that ridiculous thing, and then he tries to justify the unjustifiable, it is very sad. In fact, Peter Parker has said that he's going to maybe call him somewhere, and then they go to pray together so as he can understand.
They rehabilitate him.
They rehabilitate him. Indeed, he needs rehabilitation. Otherwise, this is something ridiculous that is unacceptable in the society.
Welcome, Mr. Spencer.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right. So, Apollo Tumsime, good morning and welcome to the Big Set.
Good morning, Besigye, and people who are listening to us out there. I welcome the parents to the show. My name is Apollo Tumsime, and I'm the spokesperson for the Alliance for Financial Transformation in Chiruhura district. I would like to welcome people from the Easter break, whereas people have identified key points that made news. For me, I still say that it was nice to celebrate Easter, because the resurrection of Jesus shows that there is no problem that is bigger than death. So if he was able to defeat death in that faith, we can still be able to defeat the problems that are surrounding us. To comment about the court decision on the AHA, President Museveni raised the question before that, before he appended the signature, I think years back, and he wanted to understand whether this thing is by nature or by nurture. And it was supposed to be answered by science and maybe by also like cultural institutions and stuff. I took at a point to ask people in our communities, especially those with old age, what they think about it. And it to my surprise that homosexuality existed in early years of 1900s, I mean years back, so it's not something very new. But people who used to do that were actually treated harshly. That's what they told me. You would be isolated from the community. You not be given like a public space to make a comment or whatever. So it happened. It was there already. So that is if I'm coming from Bwenje's point of view, that there are some people who are natural, I think, born like that. I don't know, but that was it. So, but we need the law to control the nature now. Just to give an insight, I mean, when I think you know the act, that the act does not prohibit anyone from doing it. Instead, there are clauses that were brought up, the sections to prohibit promotion and to control everything. I mean, if there was no law, for example, there's no law about if heterosexual, I mean, having sex between female and male is okay, but there was to be a law to define which person should you have sex with. You cannot have sex with a minor. That's why they brought a law in the Penal Code Act against like aggravated defilement, having sex with people who are of old age and they cannot be able to consent by themselves. So in this case as well, we need a law to protect people who are not subscribing to your thought. I mean, you will not just come with your money. You not just come. We give our kids to teachers, and then we find teachers are sodomizing our kids. I mean, we need a lot to protect that, and that is what we are appreciating from the court decision of the Constitutional Court. Thank you very much.
Welcome, Apollo Tumsime. Now let's take a breather. When we come back into a topic of discussion. Good morning.
It's tough. It's bold. It's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Crooze FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great friends.
It's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Crooze FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great friends.
On Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Crooze FM, great music, great friends. 26 minutes past 9 o'clock. My name is Kizza Besigye. The Big City is on. It happens every Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 11. What we do is sit and talk about everything that has to do with this country. Now, no particular way is this different. We are talking about the mobilization campaign by the FDC faction in Katonga that is all over the Western Uganda. They were this week, they were in Barra. I know for sure that they will be in Kabale. They've been in Bushenyi, and they plan to go all the way to Kasese. And no better way to talk about this than now. Now with me in studio is Mr. Mohanjede Spencer. He belongs to that particular faction of the FDC. Apollo Tumsime, spokesperson for an Alliance for the National Transformation in Chiruhura District. I have two lawyers, Henry Nwamanya and Bwenje Deus did it. Peter Mpaka belong to the National Interplatform. We know certainly that Dr. Kizza Besigye, who has vied for presidency since 2001, is in high gear. Now, this has a background. We have a couple of divisions on the different political parties, especially in the opposition. Dr. Kizza Besigye has branded himself as a very consistent, credible opposition figure. Now, what does this mean for the new campaign as we gear up to the 2026 elections, knowing that he did not stand for presidency in the last elections of 2021? Where does this leave the NUP and the president's ambitions of Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. These are the answers that we're going to be answering now up to 11 o'clock. But don't forget, you can take chance and call in on 752-912-912, I'll put a question on our topic of discussion on our social media handles. X, that's 912 Crooze FM, and 912 Crooze FM on Twitter, on Facebook and Instagram, that is. And make the messages come through. We shall be able to read some of those. Let me start with Spencer. Knowing that you've been a part of Dr. Besigye and the campaigns, what does this mean first on the FDC generally as a political party? But what does this speak of the person of Dr. Besigye? Is he trying to fill a vacuum that has been created by the disorganization in the different political parties? What is he answering that has been a problem going forward as we gear up to the 2026 election? Spencer.
Yes, thank you very much, Banyaji. I think I will start with the person of Besigye. Colonel Kizza Besigye, we first have to look at his background. He's a gentleman who has done each and everything to make a justification that he's not selfish. First of all, from history, when he left his good job in Nairobi, sacrificed and then went to the jungles of Luwero to fight and Uganda and make Uganda a better country. That one, everyone gives him a credit, and he's not alone. These gentlemen are the likes of Mugisha Muntu, the likes of the late General Biraro. We are seeing now General Tafire also throwing tantrums and then challenging the reality that Muhoozi Kainerugaba is being fronted to succeed his father. You see, they had charisma, and they still have most of them who are still alive. And now, looking into what is transpiring into the FDC, I have seen during the last elections, you also how Besigye chose not to stand, and the candidate that was fronted by the FDC, Engineer Patrick Oboy Amuriat, scored very poorly. And it was deliberate by Kizza Besigye not to rally behind the candidate fronted by his party, because he had detected that it had already gotten some challenges in the candidate selection and whatnot, because there was some external forces from behind, the invisible hand, that was not going to make the party succeed. Now, Kizza Besigye wanted a coalition within the FDC, and in fact, had they been successful in making it, Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu wouldn't have jumped over someone's political party, that one of a national unity platform. Because Besigye as a person, he's someone who wants change in each and every way. And that's why even now he is calling upon all those political parties that are coincidentally having fractures, because it is a coincidence.
Spencer, what are you saying? Are you tending to mean that there was a plan by Besigye to have Kyagulanyi Ssentamu take over the FDC?
Yes, not taking over FDC, but being fronted as a presidential candidate, not being the president of the party, because by that time, Engineer Patrick Omuriat was the president. But
Besigye, Kyagulanyi was never a card-bearing member of the Forum for Democratic Change.
But he had the right to enter into the party of his choice. And then he competes with others for the presidential flag bearer. But because there was a faction that had already been compromised by the state, President Museveni is so much interested in seeing people not united. So as he gets his way through, the faction led by Nandara Mafabi and Engineer Amuriat and Jack Savities, they had already been compromised, and then they couldn't allow that. That's why they are always complaining when we accuse them of having sold our party to the head of state. They also complain, fabricating stories that we were handing over the party to the national unity platform. So they bring that as an excuse for them to justify their bad deeds. But the issue of that money is what caused the problems. We have been discussing that. So Colonel Kizza Besigye as a person, for him, is so much interested in change. Whichever channel it comes through, whichever way we get into it, So now his mobilization strategy is that he is trying to make the masses come together despite the political party diversions and differences, and then he makes the population understand that the struggle we are in is for Uganda and is not for political parties. And him as a person, he has a brand. That's why he is always having very mammoth crowds from the beginning.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Give us that information. I want to go to Apollo Tumsime.
Well, if I understand the former speaker well, he's trying to say that the reason why Dr. Besigye didn't stand in 2021 is because his favorite candidate or his favorite individual for the flag bearership of the FDC was not given the chance to contest there.
That's what it tends to mean.
Yes,
actually.
But I think he's not doing justice to the people of Uganda, especially those who are viewing us here. The reason why Dr. Besigye did not contest is not because he was pushed out. No, it's because he does not have faith in an election. So he did not see the essence of standing to contest against the same person, the same regime, the same EC.
But
so
also,
it has nothing to do
also,
with his with who he wanted as a flag bearer.
But my argument was, had Kizza Besigye stood against and rallied behind the candidate chosen by the party, Engineer Amuriat wouldn't have scored poorly.
Now the question is, why didn't he rally behind him? Because they have personal differences.
Amuriat had been already compromised, and it was the state in him. So we couldn't allow rallying behind someone who is just a katembist, who is not serious with what he's doing.
Thank you,
because
yes, thank you. Let me bring in Tumsime. Tumsime, the reason I want you to come in right there, it looks like the Alliance for the National Transformation is having the last laugh. You had General Mchamuntu in that party called all kind of names, mole, traitor, whatever name was called to General Mchamuntu. He left the party, and how many years? A few years down the road, the FDC is in tatters. Dr. Besigye did not support the person that perhaps wished to be president of that party, because clearly we all know that Dr. Besigye could have favored Amuriat ahead of General Mchamuntu. And what we see in the FDC now, Apollo Tumsime, what does it tell of the persons, especially at the head of the political party?
Thank you very much, Banyadi. I also thank my colleague who has just submitted. There is a new talk in town that there will always be signs. So sometimes we see like red flags, but we think they are pink. Sometimes we don't understand, we think they are green or they are purple. But like Mchamuntu, when he was launching the NT, he said time will tell who are the real Moors are now. We have seen what has happened at Najanankumbi, and now the party, the FDC, is in a dire situation where people, even its supporters, are not sure whether they should belong to Najanankumbi or to the Katonga faction. But then, away from that, let me just give a background. I think Ugandans here, I don't know if we are so much prepared to start a party, to build a party beyond the sentiments of an individual who has initiated the idea. I was following the politics in Dokolo of recent, the by-election, and then Jimmy Akena and this woman MP who won, the UPC candidate, all of them came putting on clothes with the picture of late Milton Obote, someone who passed on over 20 years ago. But they want to still show you that UPC is all about Obote. There is even, I think, a court ruling that Jimmy Akena is not the bona fide president of the UPC party, but you cannot just simply kick him out of Uganda House. So they still think that the party is around the individual, is surrounded by the individual. The same thing happening in the NRM. You cannot differentiate between NRM and Museveni. In fact, in simple terms, NRM is Museveni. If there is no Museveni, then there is no NRM. So is the national chairman, is everything. He appoints this one, he appoints that. So, but people still think the political party has to be based on individual. The same thing with what is happening at NUP. President Robert Kyagulanyi of the National Unity Platform went to do a search, maybe a hunt, and was able to catch his big hunt. Let's an elephant. He started his political party. This of Matthias Mpuga, who joined at the serving table, then wanted to start taking like a lion's share and yet Robert Chagoni thinks that he's supposed to be the one giving out how much you should take. So you can see that even those of Mpuga are being forced out because the party is aligned on the individual basis. And now the same thing with Dr. Besigye. Dr. Besigye, among the other founders of FDC, started the party. Along the way, some people fell out with him. He remained on the same course. When he left the structures of the party, it's like he told us that he never wanted to remain the president because he wanted the party to take its course by introducing those structures. Now, people who came through structures, the Amuriat and the Nandalas, we think they also have a right to continue to lead the party. But then in the end, Dr. Besigye thinks that if they have gone from what he thinks, from his own ideology that he had when he was starting the party, and then it's hard for him to force them out because the law does not allow him. The Electoral Commission recognizes Najana Nkumbi. So now that's why he thinks that he can still start another party with his still the ideology he had from the start. So people of Uganda are now confused. I don't know if they need political parties actually at this time. What I would say is that we should just do a favor for Ugandans, and we don't have to put them in this politics of prey. These are just games. I mean, there has been a wave of NUP. Now Besigye is coming with another wave. Seemingly, I don't know how much support he can be able to galvanize. But now Ugandans do not need this at this time. I would say the change is inevitable. We have been hungry for change for so many years, and we need to sit down, all of us, like in the political party, especially in the opposition. We sit down and we agree on the common agenda, because we cannot keep confusing others. They will not even trust us. We found it very hard when we were trying to sell our candidates to the population in the previous election, Misha Muntu. People would say, yeah, Misha Muntu would make a good president. But then they seem not to be. We got the ballot box, you don't see the votes you are talking about. You guys, you say that he can make a good president. Even the people here on the panel, if I ask them, they would say Misha Muntu would make a good president. But then you don't want to vote him. So I don't even know.
It's not a good presidential candidate.
I don't even know what they say. See now. So I think we need to sit and discuss on the common agenda whether we are supposed to front one candidate, because otherwise NRM is benefiting from us. NRM is benefiting from our confusion. We have been confused for a very long time.
Okay.
Just final remarks. You see, I belong to I attend both the Anglican church. I also go to the Born Again church. Now, when you go to an Anglican church, you just reach there, you sit there, they do the first reading, they just recite a few songs which are written, and some prayers which are also written. Someone who has come with a problem, let's say she has not conceived for the 10 years, will still go back with the same problem. But then when you go to a Born Again church, someone will bring a little bit of encouragement. They will say that by the end of this week, by the end of this month, you will have conceived. I think Ugandans need to be given this message that that we need to take government soon. We need to leave this kind of politics. Yes, we need to take this kind of politics, and that's why I support Besigye in this thing.
Okay.
That we need to tell Ugandans that we need change, and it should happen soon. We cannot wait for President Museveni to agree with his family on whether to bring Natasha, whether to bring Mohozi to take Uganda forever. This is.
Thank you, Apollo Tumsime. Yes, you have some information.
Yes, maybe before someone else comes to the microphone, the issue of malls in FDC, it was true that it was Muntu was accused of being a mole into the FDC, but this thing was being promoted by Nandarama Fabi and Toterebuka Bamwenda, who had already planned to disintegrate the party. So, and another thing, the founders syndrome in each and every party will live to stay here in Uganda.
Let me bring in Bwenja here, who is the president of Naru. We don't have briefcase party there. And
I'm a peculiar speaker because I've been a member of both of the NUP and the FDC, and I've left each of them to establish my own party. But of course, I attended the event here in Barada. But what I heard from people who were expecting to see Besigye and who saw him, of course, was that they I think what they want is not what he has.
What do they want?
People want an armed struggle.
And what does he have?
He doesn't have it. He so he
Where are the
has-
forests that you
so
guys
he
have
has,
not that?
so there's a feeling of deja vu. It's the same thing. I have already seen it. I listen to him. There's nothing new from him. It's just the same broom. No new tricks at all. So I think I feel for him because he initially had no faith at all in contesting again. But I think the turn of events has forced him to have a change of opinion. And I think that is bad because it makes him subservient to the conditions of the country. And I have to beg him to have a stand, because even if he forms a new party, I don't see him removing the president. I mean, and so we have expectations.
Besigye is about 65, right?
Yeah,
About 68,
Stay around
about
there.
there.
So
You expect this gentleman to pick arms like he
See,
was in
yeah, you see,
1981
I mean, you see, okay,
and go.
me, I'm trying to voice out the expectations of the people, whether those expectations are possible or not. But people expect him to come with a new idea, but it's the same thing. We have to form a party. We go around the country. We look for members. Then we go to the EC. We get the name, the symbols, and so forth. So it is the daily routine, and that does not really. It doesn't help us at all. Of course, so we're trying to
No,
form parties,
there should be something that has prompted Dr. Besigye to re-emerge, because that's the matter of fact. I doubt Dr. Besigye wants to see
maybe.
himself at the evening of his time getting entangled in the very polluted politics that we have. But it certainly sees an opportunity of either the message getting derailed and he wants to resuscitate it and
but
have the message of change revamped, repackaged and resold to the Ugandan people.
Yeah. But you see, he also has the alternative of waiting for the internal elections of the FDC and contesting against any flag bearer there. So he doesn't have only one option of starting a party, although that is also his choice. It is his right. He can start it. But I think the question of the day should be, if he starts it, then what? So I don't see anything really new and effective coming from him. It's the same song. We don't have power. We don't have wealth. The first family is in control of the country. They are stealing from us, and we are quiet. So there's nothing new.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Let me bring in Peter. Peter, you're literally a medical practitioner, and you know there is a point at which the medics are able to make a very hard decision and say, we are going to amputate. Literally, the organ is too bad that if at all we try to put the antiseptic and antibiotic and painkillers, it's literally going to make the patient worse. And Dr. Besigye is saying, we are amputating. There is no way we can try to heal and recover, have the FDC recover. Let's amputate, create a new formation, restart the message of change, and we know that the people are on our side. Get out on the countryside, gear up this support, translate it into the numbers. 2026 we come. We know the UPC is divided. We know NUP is divided. We know the FDC internally, it's dead and gone. The DP was sold to General Museveni and the NRM. We have an opportunity right there. Do you think there is that particular vacuum that Dr. Besigye is trying to fill, and will it work this time around?
Yeah, thank you, Besigye, for that wonderful analysis. First of all, I want to tell our listeners that the Besigye we are talking about and the FDC Katonga is a group of people we hold with high regard, especially me, myself, and those that are truly patriotic to the country called Uganda. We love Besigye. We appreciate his war, his battle, his charisma, and all his contribution. And for us, we really regard him as the father of of this country. You know, there is this Kenyan president across here who was lying somebody that he's the father of the region. But for us, we look at Besigye as the true father, a man who has tried to struggle for us, the Kakulankonyas, the Katera Masindes, the poor people of the country who are humiliated. And I want to quote him, the statement he said when he was at Nyamchobora here in Imbarara. He said, opposition is not a political grouping, opposition is not a political party, but opposition is you, the you who are here who are not able to take your children to good schools because you cannot afford the school fees, the you who are here who cannot find medicines in the hospitals, the you who are falling in bridges. You've seen people in Ntungamo, people in Rwampara, people everywhere constructing bridges by themselves. Those are the people that are supposed to rise up and redeem our country. So that's why for me, if a man can stand and make such a statement and speak to our own circumstances, Mr. Besigye, this is a man we should regard in high, we should consider in high regard. Of course, we know a few days ago, Mr. Wenje was here commenting, I think it was Wenje or myself, was commenting on a group of 5 people from the first family who gathered together and raised at a fundraising 1.5 billion in just 20 minutes. They were able to raise 1.5 billion. Yet for us, even if we gather and we are 1,000, we cannot even collect 10 million. So that is the difference that we have in this country. Now,
but it's illogical for you to think,
yes,
you who has no state power, you who has literally no formidable job, you do not earn this money, that you're going to compete with the person that has been in charge of the state for the last 40 years.
At our disadvantage, has been in the state, controlling the state at our disadvantage. And I think also, to quote Besigye's words, at our own foolishness. So when Wenje says people want an armed struggle, I tend also to concur and agree with him. But for me, what I want to contribute to our listeners today are 2 things. I think one is what I would call a mistake in Besigye's calculations. Besigye desired to practice democracy under an utter dictatorship. So the dictator could not allow democracy to thrive in FDC.
Thank you.
That's why, but I don't know why you're rushing to cut me off.
Yes.
That's one. I know when I speak these things, you get angry because you fail to be a very good.
Please, I want to bring in Henry.
But as Henry comes in, number 2, when he disqualifies parties as a vehicle that is going to take us to the transition, and then he is gearing up to form a political party, I also look at that as a mistake. Maybe I will add on that when we come.
Henry, I want Henry to help us understand why we've resigned to the notion of political parties and democratic processes. The 2 young people are advocating for a liberation, a protracted war. They want to go to win the impenetrable and kick the regime out of power. Is this where we are at, Henry?
You see, that's very unfortunate, and it is sad that we are hearing it from the people I regard as professors in the future, and people of high reputable character in this country. But that said and done, does Besigye have a right to start another political organization? Yes, he does. Is he barred from starting that legally? Yes, he is still barred because he's still an active member of the FDC. And
does the law say because you belong to another political party you cannot create your own?
You can, but what does it take to cross over? How do you leave the former party formally? Are you dismissed? Are you going to write to the Secretary General that you're resigning from this party? Are you going to cease to be a member because you've carried out hostile activities that are against the party rules? Because that's what the FDC constitution says. And if he wants to solicit opinions, that's his right. He has to go ahead and solicit opinions from the masses out there. But maybe to agree with Peter, I do not think that is the right approach that these political parties have to take. One of the biggest the deficit they have is that they have failed to build structures, first of all, from the parliamentary seats. And I think with unity, it would be better to first approach that and focus on that, getting more members of parliament in that parliament, because the legislature plays a great role in the decisions that are taken in this country. But if you focus on splitting even the little that you have already, we have the Peter Mpakas in NUP now. Besigye wants to come up. It hasn't come out yet, but we know where this is taking. It's still an opinion. We know the direction it's taking, because that's how General Gregory Mjisha Muntoyela started.
But Henry, have you addressed your mind to the fact that it's literally very impossible for these opposition political actors to actually mobilize even the little that you presume them to do? It is an environment upon which they cannot do. You see, you're telling them, why don't you focus on members of parliament and mobilizing and have that have your numbers increased in parliament? That will influence the kind of politics that you want to play. You see, but when the state makes it impossible for you to do that, which options are available for you, Henry?
I think the state partly does, yes, but to a greater extent, they also still have the powers to identify this, because I think that's where the president beats them. When you look at a particular region and you identify a person who will help you influence the decisions in that region, you can always get them. They did this with Kassiano Wadri, the Honorable Kassiano Wadri in Arua. Regardless of whatever took place, the man emerged the winner. You saw what took place of recent in what's that district of the late Honorable, yes, Dokoro. UPC emerged the winner. Just identify the right person in a particular district, and trust me, people have turned the tables, and you will get the right person to fit in that position.
Maybe the terrain is that the UPC, the Democratic Party, are the armpits of the NRM and Chairman Museveni. So when you're talking about engulfing some of these people and annexing them to the opposition and the bigger political players, is to presume that even some of those political elements are actually on their side. Some of them have already crossed over.
You see, now that's where the element of the president being as wise comes in. For you as the opposition, what mechanisms do you have to fight that deficit, the mischief in your political side? Do you realize that you're dealing with the right people? Do you have the same principles politically? Even NRM has those people who will defect at some point. Do you identify them and realize that we can deal with this person? Maybe come up with a new face. Are we not tired of Besigye and the Chagulanyi and the Peter Mpaka and whoever that is always a populist coming out? Don't you just have to bring in some Banyaji, throw in some Banyaji in Masaka and get the votes? Throw in some Bwenje in Imbarara, get the votes? Because I believe, at least for the little time I've spent with Banyaji and Bwenje, I don't know about Peter Mpaka, at least they hold the principles high that they may do the right thing. But the NUP guys, I'm not I'm not certainly having issues with my colleague here, Mpaka, but I'm just giving you an example. So always allude to that school of thought that let's do the things the right way. I think Besigye is a good mobilizer, is a good guy, is a father figure in this the politics of this country, but let them look for a better strategy.
Thank you, Henry.
Yes.
We're stopping off for a break. We'll look up in the second hour, but when we come back, I'll give you an opportunity to contribute to the show. But most importantly, we want in the second hour to really dissect the options available for the opposition. Because if at all the only legitimate way upon which you can attain power is an election, how much can the opposition go in creating the figures in the election work in their favor? What is it if President Museveni after 1980 election in December said, it's a wrap for me here, I am not going to continue with this nonsense and just get to use another modern method? 5 years of protracted war in the Ruero Triangle. He's president for 39 years, literally. is the opposition literally playing the same card and expecting a different result? When we come back after the breather, don't touch your dial. We'll be right back. Good morning.
It's tough. It's bold. It's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Crooze FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great friends.
Real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Crooze FM. Great music,
Great music.
great friends.
Great friends.
It's Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Crooze FM. Good music, good friends. 2 minutes past 10 o'clock. The big city zone, right here on Plot 12, Motile, Mbara City, the land of milk and honey. We welcome all travelers to come to the west, but particularly Mbara, where we have very good people and the environment, happening places, beautiful weather. Just come, and your back could perhaps get to employ 1 or 2 people, and before we know it, everyone is very comfortable here. We don't stop to remind the people of Mbarara, be very careful on the roads, respect traffic laws, and we don't need to lose any other life to these accidents. The conversation this morning is on the state of the FDC, but with particular insight on Besigye. This man has stood for president for about 5 times or something since 2001, only absconded in 2021. And we know certainly his credibility. He's left a trail of competency, resiliency. I think no one has withstood the pain and the gutters of Ugandan politics as Besigye has. And there is no one who can take away that he has built a brand of consistency, and Ugandans celebrate him for feeling the pain of the people that have to deal with the poor service delivery and everything that has to do with that. But he's caught up in a situation of trickery that is in Ugandan opposition politics, and the divisions that are in there, the influence of quote-unquote the external forces from government and the state and the NRM to kind of destabilize the Ugandan opposition politics. Were we ready for multi-party politics and the dispensation? That's something that the pundits have clearly always discussed. We were not ready. I think these parties are still hinged on individuals and strongman syndrome. How far can we be able to dismantle this and we have a situation where a political party can raise ahead of its founders? I know certainly that Mugisha Muntu is spoken of very well as a very competent individual to become president. It has never translated into the words, what do Ugandans want? The battle on liberating the country, like the way members of the opposition want to sell it out to be, has been for them as leaders. Have the Ugandan people understood the task? Is this something that is so hard to sell to the Ugandan people? Is it delusional of opposition political figures to think this is the general sentiment of the republic, that the status quo is so bad and there is need for a rescue? Benji, or you're amplifying something that is not?
Okay, what I'm trying to say is that I think it was the Honorable Amama Mbabas who once said that it is madness for you to do the same thing expecting different results.
But at your age,
Yes,
at your age,
yeah.
Henry Tumukunde,
Yes.
Mugisha Muntu
Yes.
were literally half your age and they were in
Yes,
Luero
yes.
and fighting for the liberation. What is hard for you? Why are you waiting for Besigye to get you arms? If at all it's a matter of changing mode of operation and kick out the dictator that you call him, why don't you pick those arms, Benji?
Of course, the statement I've just made, it in no way means that Besigye is insane or mad. No, because I can't say that. But I think he's failing, or he has no alternative. He has no peace in the FDC, so he's trying to look for a home, a political home. And so I think his mind is telling him that the only home you can get is a party which you have founded. But it is not going to help us at all. He's trying to inform us that I can do what I failed to do in the last 22 years. And I think he's lying to himself. He knows very well that an election cannot remove a dictatorship, especially in Africa. And he has on numerous occasions stated it. So it behooves me if he kind of now embarks on a nationwide journey to seek people's view on a matter whose answer he knows. People actually, if you attend those events of his, people always actually interject and tell him guns. But I think in his mind he doesn't want to hear that, because that's a challenge on his competence as a person and as a soldier. Because people expect him and General Muntu to have a solution other than the vote, because the vote doesn't work here. So they expect him to have the option of the gun and not the ballot, the bullet and not the ballot. But the two of them have showed us
but certainly
that's not where they are.
We know certainly that Sudan in Khartoum changed, and the dictator was not toppled by either the gun or the ballot. So there are other avenues upon which the opposition can pick up and remove a dictator, if at all they think.
When I mentioned the gun, I use it as an exact opposite of the ballot. So the gun can also stand for a civil uprising.
No.
Yes.
Wenje, we are bright enough to know what you mean.
I mean that if it is not the ballot, then it is force.
But an insurrection is not force per se.
It is force.
Because there is no tools of coercion that are used.
Something which the law does not foresee. So it is force within the meaning of Hans Kelsen.
Okay, thank you.
So I want to challenge the former soldiers who are now in the opposition, although there are so few. I think to look for an alternative.
Okay, thank you.
And that alternative is an armed struggle.
Okay, thank you. I want to bring in Apollo Tumsime. And for me, every moment that I think about General Muntu, I feel so bad. Because I'm one of the people that thinks General Muntu is such an incompetent individual. But Ugandans have purely rejected this man. And when Council Bwenje says this man is left a major general in the army, served as commander of the army, and all these credentials, but he has failed to find solution for toppling a dictator. This is a weakness on his part, Apollo Tumsim.
It's as if he has never joined the army at all.
Okay.
He's like me.
Okay. I'm not going to be subject to that diction of Wenje. That is his own illusion. General Muntu, as per se, he came and tried to mobilize and started a party, of which we thought that we could start up by building structures from the LOC level. But what happened is, because the point was, the biggest population of Ugandans are in the villages. Like 70% of people stay in the villages, and just maybe 30% stay in the urban areas. And the 30% are the ones who can try to buy the idea of bring violence to take power. But then the 70% would need to be convinced first, so they can buy the idea of joining a political party and voting a specific person. Now the problem is that the government, I mean President Museveni, is the owner of the resources. He has a very huge budget. He has everything that it takes to frustrate any kind of organization, any kind of mobilization strategy you are trying to bring, because he has the money. I mean, every time you appoint an agent, just look at what happens during elections. You appoint an agent, by the time you reach at the polling station, the agent has either been bought if he's weak, or the person has been whisked away and doesn't know where he is at that moment. So and that's what happens. But now we cannot keep lamenting in that kind of in that way, because Ugandans, like I've said in my first submission, we need to deliver a struggle to deliver transition. We had hopes. I somehow had hopes in Chairman Norbert Mao, Minister Norbert Mao, when he started telling us that he has joined the government and is working on the document to bring like reforms and stuff and to deliver transition. He keeps saying it. Even this week he mentioned about it. But I think according to how I see President Museveni, it is either him and his family that they have to sit and decide who owns Uganda, where Uganda should go. and that is the thing that we should fight. It is very unfortunate, and I'm sending a message to people who subscribe to NRM and who support President Museveni and his family and General Mohoz, and I don't know, just look at in the neighborhood in Kenya. People go through an election, 10 years, someone is out and another person comes in. Kenya, we got independence with these countries. Look at Tanzania, like in the same time. There's no way how these countries can progress democratically and we remain in that kind of fiction that we cannot be able to get out by ourselves. I mean, what are we doing? For example, why do you support General Mohoz? For what purpose? What has he done other than him being a president's son? That is the only thing, that's the only achievement he has. He's a president's son. He has no credible, I mean,
but Apollo Tumsime, you've been in this country for quite a couple of years.
Yes.
You know this gentleman was Commander of Land Forces. You know he was Commander of the Special Forces Command. You know he fought LRA. You know his contribution in Somalia. So you cannot sit here and start saying General Mohoz has done nothing, we don't know him. This man has been a commander of the military for years.
Yeah, some of the achievements that he went to Garamba and came back with the guitar of General Kony and some things that he found in the forest. That is one of the things that you know that he has achieved. But for the track record, but also he has been put on record as an abuse of human rights. We have seen people accusing him of torture and the likes of Kakwenza and the likes. So I mean, we cannot just like give this country, our country, our beloved country, which we have a share, which we have a say, and we just deliver it to him. In any case, we don't know what happens. The father is still here, and he, according to what I see, he is going to be on the ballot in 2026. And if the natural methods have not worked on him, he's going to can actually avail himself in 2031. So. But Ugandans need something different. We need to sit on the round table, and that's what I'm saying. For example, Nanda Mafabi is coming for president. He has already confirmed. That's what I hear from the FDC. So you cannot have Nanda Mafabi. You have Chagulanyi. You have I think maybe Lukwago could be fronted. No, I don't think Besigye is going to make it to the ballot. I don't think.
Thanks, Apollo.
And then you have all these people with brains, with knowledge. We have Mijishamont here, but they cannot agree, and everyone is running for an election. Is coming with 3%, 1%.
But in Congo, just our next door neighbor here had over 50 candidates, and they vied for the election. And Tshisekedi was
Nigeria. There were 82 on the ballot.
Okay, let's see what happens. But for me, I think a roundtable negotiation, a discussion to come up with one candidate. We back him, all of us. We can be able to oust.
That has been difficult for the last how many years, since 2026. About that,
have a counter argument on that.
Yes,
you see, whatever since the democratic elections, I think started in 1996, then 2001. If you combine all the votes of the members of the opposition flag of the presidential candidates, they do not amount to the votes of President Museveni. If you combine all of them in every single election.
Okay.
So even if we have
have you incorporated other functions? Have you incorporated other factors into the function?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Let me bring in Spencer. Spencer, you've had the feedback. Purely, the gentleman are saying, I think it's just a wrong methodology that Dr. Besigye is trying to employ on this one. He is doing the same thing, expecting different results, which is ridiculous. There is no way you would do that. What are the options for Dr. Besigye? Because eventually, whether he stands or not, if the answer is not to remove General Museveni as president, everything that he's doing is in vain, for lack of a better word.
Yes, first of all, I want to first respond to one of my colleagues. I think it was Henry who said that Besigye is barred from starting a new political party. The FDC Katonga, where he belongs and where he is a commander with his lieutenants, we have been building structures all over the country. Even in this village, there is a structure for the FDC Katonga faction. So Besigye is an ordinary member of... we have been building structures. That one is true.
I think that is a misrepresentation.
No.
See,
put it direct to him and you go and ask the question.
When they are campaigning there for those structures, they are FDC structures.
They are FDC structures.
Yes.
That's why they have said that they are going to court.
Speak to the microphone, sir.
Yes. That's why they are saying that they are going to court, because we are using their logos, and I don't know how they are going to put their case there. Now, for us, we are calling ourselves Katonga faction. We have our interim leadership, which is led by Elias Lukwago. People who have no right to form a political party or join the political party are people like Ibrahim Semujunganda and the group of my own Naboth Namanya from Rubabwe, the sitting members of parliament who abide by the law according to the constitution. Those ones cannot belong to the structures of the party built by Katonga. So what I'm trying to explain, someone has said that an uprising must have to involve guns. No. The people of Tunisia removed the sitting president, a dictator who had ruled the country and who had won with 89%. People were shot, people were killed, but they resisted until they got what they wanted. So it doesn't need guns or political parties for an uprising to be begun. People who went to Ruwero, they didn't have political parties. If you ask Kizza Besigye, who came from Nairobi, the Mugisha Muntus from the universities, and where they never belonged to any political party, but for them to join the struggle. So the point I was trying to make is that Colonel Kizza Besigye is mobilizing the masses before in isolation of political parties, though he's trying to make a formation. So as when he's mobilizing, he has where he falls. He has the following, we understand. That gentleman is a crowd puller. Leave alone people like Muhozi Kainerugaba, who has to ferry to traverse all over the country looking for people to attend his rallies. That's not fair. It is fair because Kizza Besigye has been using his own resources.
Okay.
People are putting their own money to follow Kizza Besigye, and his rallies have been mammoth.
I don't see.
But you see, when you come here, Spencer, and you're priding yourself in mammoth crowds,
yes,
you do not translate it to votes. It's obnoxious.
No,
you see, I don't see any distinction between
people are following him because of his ideology. Yes.
And KB.
Yes.
Okay.
Because MK and KB
you don't say difference
are all trying to form parties.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to ask Henry a question. I will come to you, Peter. Isn't it very hard to believe and to put up the kind of disappointment the youths of this country have put at Ugandans? When Museveni went to the bush, he came out at 44. If you minus his age of 5, that's about 39 in the bush. Mugisha Muntu was barely 25, 23 about that. Besigye was barely about 20 something. Tumukunde was in his 20s. General Jema was less. Kagame was barely 30. These were toddlers, you know. But they were cautious enough to know the responsibility and the need to rescue a country that was on the verge of collapse of the state. But now the Ugandan youths find comfort in simply name calling these political actors, condemning them, condemning Besigye, who is raising the consciousness of the people at 68 years, when the person condemning him is a young person who is doing nothing. Isn't it so sad, a generation that we can't help matters but are quick to castigate?
You see, the current generation does not have the liberty to do what the generation of the Musevenis, General Museveni, the Besigyes did in the 80s. I think the last time people were advocating for that, retired General Museveni, who some people forget that one of his other names is Sabalwanyi, warned them about touching a particular part of a leopard. Even people like Besigye, who are advocating for a different approach, know that Ugandans are not ready for the repeat of history and the repercussions that come with sort of fundamental revolutions like that. In the ambits of our boundaries here in Burundi, there's a certain general who tried it, and the repercussions were not as friendly. General Godflight Niyombare, when he tried to oust the late Pierre Nkurunziza. But my point still remains that every leader has a weakness that people have to spot, even the president himself. Just that the opposition has not really tried to spot what weakness he has. I will tell you for a fact that in Congo here there was a gentleman who was even more powerful than the president we have in this country. Mobutu Sese Seko Nkunde was a banger, and people believed that at some point he could just appear from heaven They even had songs praising him and, showing videos of him ascending from clouds and all that. But one day his time came and the weakness was exposed and he was ousted from power. So I believe as Ugandans we shouldn't take the direction of guns, and I think my colleagues should withdraw that statement, because the guns won't help us as a country. And I do not wish that the youth take that sort of direction. We have basic ideas that we could frame aside from politics to help transform this country. But again, if we are to take the political direction, I believe that the youth have power to oust this government if they wanted to, with other alternative means, not necessarily using guns, because we've seen repercussions of using guns against this government. Governments are different, and the government of Uganda is a government. I prefer that my land colleague notes down so that I finish up with this submission. We've seen where guns have taken this country. You remember the unfortunate incidents in Kasese. You remember the unfortunate incidents in northern Uganda. I do not want to go into the facts of that, because I believe my brother here knows what caused that. Part of it is that there was a suspected secession of the Kasese,
creating a Yuda Republic.
Yuda Republic, and you know how Africa has been dealing with that. You know how Mobutu dealt with the Katonga secession. You know how the Nigerian government dealt with the Biafran crisis. And
how Tanzania did with the Kagera.
Yes, so we don't want to go into certain incidents that will lead to loss of lives because of particular individuals who have egoistic tendencies of taking over power. We can shape our country and direct it to a direction we want. Whether people want to rule this country, there's a time where this government will put hands down, and we shall succeed in ousting them politically in the right direction.
Thank you, Henry. When we come back from a breather, we'll go to the lifeline of the show, the telephone calls and your messages. Keep them coming. We are Western Uganda's biggest radio. Good morning.
It's tough. It's bold. It's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Crooze FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great friends.
Seat on 91.2 Crooze FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great friends.
Welcome back. It's into the second half of the show. Thank you so much for every person that is locked on their radio. I know certainly that a couple of petrol stations have it loud, and supermarkets talk about Golf Course Supermarket, Day-to-Day Supermarket, Chirime Supermarket, Rubes, Total in Revicona, all these places mark and sing where the hustle is at, and the different schools. There are schools where head teachers and particular teachers tag into the big city, and it never stops. I want to thank you so much. And the markets that are listening and catching and watching the television on Crooze TV, you do us real good. Where the competitors are, the tailors and everyone that is catching the show, I want to appreciate you very much. But particularly, I want Najuna Bruce, right? You just send your shout outs and you say you're catching the show. I want to appreciate you, and greetings to Bwenje. Thank you right there. Everyone that is locked in, you do us good and you're the real MVPs. Now, to the lifeline of the show, the telephone calls, make it happen on 752-912-912, Facebook, 91.2 Crooze FM is where you can drop your message. On X, the topic is already on there. You can be able to give us that feedback. We'll be able to read it. Ivan Palvov, you're saying thanks for the show. You're in Uganda. Dr. Besigye promised us a plan B. It's now a couple of years without seeing it, and we shall never see it. FDC collapsed and Ugandans at least dying with NUP. Adenitwe Eria, who is an ardent big seater, saying Ugandan politics isn't for the weak. I'm waiting to see. Someone who has consistently told us how elections are useless, take part in the same elections under the same dictator, and then become the third and tell us how they were rigged. Kampala Gilbert, you're saying the problem with the opposition leaders, they all want to be presidential incumbents and steady of making alliances. You're streaming all the way from Abusheni, Kabagarame, blessings there. Nwajira David, excuse me, you're saying still the opposition in Uganda is still in struggling. FDC was a good opposition party, but after Museveni's money, there is no hope for revival. Chris Shaggy, I see you. You're in Nyakayojo. Arinda Alan, you're in Nyamisindo. Shema Masha Isinzuro, I see you. Tudiamure Ambrose, you're saying thanks for the show. And you're in Igara East constituency of Ushenyi, and you're saying both FDC factions were sold because even Dr. Besigye factions, some members deal with the president. I see you right there. Keep the messages coming. I'll be able to read some of them. But for now, let me pick some of your calls on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. The big set.
Yes, hello.
Yes, hello, caller. Good morning.
Good morning. This is Oscar Pepa. I'm calling in from Kazo.
Yes, Oscar.
I don't think the opposition in Uganda still exists. They are just there for just they don't know what they want. You know why? Instead of cooperating as the opposition, and they say let's come together, like you see now they are only staging wars for us. We are tired of this opposition. Let us remain with the dictator.
Okay, I hear you. Good morning. The big set.
Hello.
Good morning. What's your name and where you at?
Orirejo Mr.
Ndire kurunzu munonga magara orirota oriyo wankai.
Ndi Alex naterra buhwezu. Kandi nabanyenda kugenda n'ekintu kya mugisha muntu kiyagambire kya time. We can just wait for time. Then ekindi. Nanyamba na umwami kanso kanso gwe.
Nine ba kanso babiri. Bwenje na Henry.
Rogo Arsenal.
Bwenje.
Kanso
bona kanaba Arsenal. Kare
mugambire ngo atusabire maze n'ikikope kitwarwe
kata kwiciririza mu ruhanga
atakukereza musuna yinwa kare ebyara ikereze maze ikereze mukonga atusabire maze
yebari on 752-912-912-178-912-910. The big set, let's get to hear from you. Hello, caller.
Council Braga.
Yes, Chairman Muhedas from Katubani. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
How are you doing this morning?
Great. It is always a pleasure to recognize me, Mr. Braga. And I always appreciate that.
Okay.
So, back to the point, I see this Mr. Kizza Besigye. This man should wait for his time because he has just standed for the elections over being president for like, if I'm to be sure, like 5 times. And the things are not coming very good. So, like the things that are always, they say that everything has its own time. So I think this man should wait for his own time, and all the FDC and all parties, their time is coming. Thank you, brother.
All right. He's raising a matter of Dr. Besigye being past his shelf life, and something that we see. Mandi has consistently said, I will not leave the playing field. because people think, because it's my responsibility and right to participate. On 752-912-912 The big seat.
Hello, Crooze FM.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, too.
Yes, what's your name and where you at?
This is I'm calling in from Kazo.
Mm.
The only thing I wanted to advise Dr. Kizza Besigye, I think he had gained weight and skin maybe the days he was off politics. At least he should go backwards. He came 5 times. He stood for the showed us that he has no capacity to do so.
All right. Thank you.
The best thing he should have done, distance himself from politics, let his political party under the foundation he started of the OPDC progress and go on for the stays aside, yeah?
Okay, thank you for your contribution this morning. The big seat.
Yes, big seat.
Yes, what's your name and where you at?
I'm Derek from Rantua.
Yes, Derek.
The opposition in Uganda is like Manchester United in the Premier League. They are just participating with no intention. You see, when your target is to remove a dictator, as they say, they have no goal. Okay, they have set no goal to, let's say, their goal is to do this or do this. They are just engaging themselves.
All right. As you're saying, the opposition is like Manchester United. They are playing for the sake of it with no intention of victory. On X, formerly Twitter, Kabinga James, you're saying we've been seeing Besigye in Bobi Wine's convoys, and he has always been saying Ugandans should entrust Bobi Wine by giving him the presidency seat. His reemergence to me has a negative impact on the opposition. Chris Banks, you're saying you're watching and listening again from Nyakaijo. I want to appreciate you very much, Chris. Arinda Alan, you're in Nyamsindo, and you're saying, for me, I think Dr. Besigye's reemergence has come in the right time because he said that he has not retired from the struggle and he has the right to continue. I want to thank you, Alan, for being a part of the show. Buzz Legacy, the reemergence of Dr. Besigye is going to weaken all the opposition powers and he intends to start up his own opposition party. Kendrick Arthur, you're saying it's no big sense. The opposition has already failed. Its supporters are so many. Let the NRM have a landslide victory. And then Ian Martinelli, you're listening in all the way from Kakova. You're saying I like his effort and patience he has put in fighting NRM. I see you, MC Mark, you're listening again. I see you, Morozi Jordan. Dr. Besigye has nothing to tell the people to convince them for the support because MK has done that, and so there is no need for them wasting time. Let me end with Chris Cyrus, I beg your pardon. I personally think Dr. Besigye isn't serious anymore. Let him give space to those that have been active in the party when he was silent. Madilu in Hima, Colin, we get to hear from you. Oh, we miss you so much, Madilu, Agava, and there's so many really ardent big seaters. Call in and let's get to hear from you. Let me end with a couple of 1, 2, 3 calls and we get back to the pan on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. The big seat.
Hello, my brother Banyaji.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Yes, what's your name and where you at?
This is Method Fine Banyashitunda Isingiro. Just I wanted to appreciate you.
Alright, thank you so much.
Having a good program.
Alright, thank you for giving me the flowers while I'm still here.
Yeah.
Alright, blessings. The big seat.
Yes, Mr. Besigye Banyaji.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning to this is Nwajira Yohana Remy from Kashoni.
Yes, Nwajira.
Whenever Zabuata is from studio Izoba. And kutukuza Hamramabweri Izoba. Opposition ya Uganda. Etuira in the Mubuzubu kandi obudiremise kugira ngo nebasa kutera idara. So number 1, opposition kuza kugira ngo ezo mu struggle yakubasa kugiretera yatwara ubutegetsi bwa Uganda there must be a fact of sacrifice. Besigye bwabira ari Nyamucyobora, I happened to be at that place. Konka Besigye kwahereze kugamba abantu abamu batandika kugira watugira ki waturekera cyo mukama. So you see n'abantu abariyo nagira ngo twatihanga konka they are not
bariyo mbyabo
bariyo mbyabo nibeyendeza ensonga ya kabiri kandi yahamuhera munywani wanje Besigye Banyagi. Twine ensonga yo kugira ngo opposition members hati batandikire kuronda ibyabo bonka nk'abantu. So they do not have any goal set, they do not have any agenda, but they are also looking for their own things, you know, bariyo baronde byabo. Oyera kugira ngo opposition iyo yonka yayikora ko murimo kugira ngo ba fronting candidate omwe hazabona bamuzenyima bamuraringe behind. That's when opposition shall take over power in Uganda. Minus that, there is literally nothing that opposition can do. NRM neza gumebebe mbire mpaka nobe NRM rarete candidate are weak. Opposition terize kumbasa. Nwagira Yohana Remi kurugomera kana.
Nwagira yebare mnonga nakusima on 752-912-912-910. The big seat.
Good morning, Besigye Banyagi.
Good morning.
Yeah, he was speaking to me. I'm a Moni Dixon from Sigarama Tema. Yeah, on to the matter.
Yes.
This Besigye's reemergence is totally wrong. And I see, you know, some of the members of Besigye's fraction, they deal with President Museveni. And probably this is going to lead the reduction of the party.
Okay.
So I see the people of our country should end dying with no.
All right. I want to appreciate you very much for being a part of the show. Now, on Crooze TV, for those that are watching on YouTube, Hilux Martinelli West, you're streaming all the way from Rianga. Omega, you're saying good morning. Seeing with Edson, you're at Rianton Institute of Health Services. Agava, Brian, I see you. You're in Mashanga Sema. Yasin Yasil, I see you. Kwesiga Arnold, in my village, all the way, Nyacheni Rukunjiri. The people in Nyacheni Rukunjiri that are catching the show want to appreciate you in a very special way. Nwajira David, you're saying the opposition is still struggling. They are just money eaters. Instead, they should focus on development and stop confusing Ugandans. You're watching all the way from Kazo. Akampora Freedom, you're watching in Shaka, Bushenyi. Manyero Mujuni Clifton, you're saying, I don't think Dr. Kizza Besigye should come back on the May. Well, I see you. We've got any. Turinawe Emax, you're saying the reemergence of Dr. Besigye and FDC matter shows that they still have seated hearts. Kampora Freedom, I had you. Mushabe, Frank, you're saying making it. Well, I see you there. Aspolo Atuhide, you're saying you appreciate the comeback of Dr. KB. Asimwe Aaron, you're at UTC in Bushenyi watching the show. Nwamanya Osbat, thank you for watching the show. And you're saying I also believe that time is the best factor for the regime to change. Recently in Gabon, in Algeria, but for Uganda, we've enjoyed the peace. Dismas, Gumoshabe, and the rest of you that are catching the show on Crooze Television, thank you very much. We're stopping for our last breather. When we come back, the parting shots and whether the FDC and generally the opposition is fatigued and overwhelmed by the longevity of the struggle to remove General Museveni as president. Since the last, about how many years? So many years, figures coming out to fight for the general to get out, but hasn't succeeded yet. After the break, we shall be concluding with some of that. Good morning.
It's tough, it's bold, it's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Crooze FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great friends.
friends.
Great friends.
A quarter to the top of the hour, we on the last lap of the show. I want to appreciate every person that has been a part of this. From 9 o'clock when we started this, it's been a very fantastic conversation this morning. It shouldn't stop here. The conversation should run all the way on our social media platforms. 912 Crooze FM on X and 91.2 Crooze FM on Facebook. Crooze TV on YouTube is where you can have all those messages coming in. We shall be able to read some of that. And it goes on and on and on until our country is better. But I will not forget to mobilize all Ugandans. Go and get the yellow fever jab. I got it. Don't hear all the misconceptions and the stereotypes that are propagated by the naysayers that don't wish you well to have a very beautiful life. Health is wealth, and it's expensive to get the yellow fever jab. So if at all you can get it free, please go ahead and get it. Let me get to Peter Mpaka. It's been a while. Peter, you've only been in the opposition for barely 5 years. These people have been in the opposition for 20 years or something. Won't you get worn out? The fatigue will break you. Don't you think that now people that are accepting to be bought off by the regime, you oppose until you're tired? Eventually your child cannot afford university. You cannot afford a decent burial of any of your relatives because you have no cow to slaughter. You literally, you die a very disgruntled man. How about you just...
That's why
Yes.
we are advocating for proactive actions to end this Himachwezi dynasty that we've been talking about.
But that Himachwezi dynasty,
it is so saddening.
Is it the one that
it is so saddening that Besigye, you've been convinced, and several Ugandans, that the dynasty is here to stay. And you seem to be so comfortable. And I was so sad at the submission of Council Henry here, who is saying, you see, you people, you see. No, we are advocating for proactive steps. And for me, as we discuss this topic, I'm looking for how to support Besigye from the depth of my soul, because I am his strong admirer. And that's why when I ended my submission,
but they're telling you,
you
just had the caller who said at Nyabityoboda here after General after Kano Besigye making his deliberations, Ugandans were asking for kitu kidogo, let ya basagat.
That's the issue I'm talking about. That Ugandans are convinced, and we are now concentrating on minor issues, the things of nararachi. Yet we can fight, liberate our country, and in the future we live off a better life. So for me, Besigye, I'm looking for how I can support Besigye part 2, because this looks like the resurrection of Besigye, and I am looking at his desire to create a new party as kind of a mistake, because for me, I look at it like it's going to weaken the opposition the more, because now you have Power and Nandala on the other side. You have Mugisha Muntu on the other side, but they claim to be so, and when time comes, they will be a candidate against Museveni, and they are going to divide votes. You have my own party, NUP, on this side. In NUP, we also seem to be having Impuga also on the other side. Then you also have Mao on the other side. Even in Mao, there is the Ruru Mebaiga on the other side. And even in UPC, it's the same thing. For me, I'm looking for that.
Include your parting shot in there.
I'm looking for Ugandans who are going to arise and have one common agenda. Besigye has some MPs in the parliament as a parting shot. What if he jeered these members of parliament for a constitutional amendment that we totally seem to be...
Will he get the 2/3?
We totally don't seem... at least let it be on record.
Okay,
because,
thank you.
But I'm being distracted yet. I've not been submitting for some time. Ugandans as a whole, we are not ready. We have not been preparing ourselves. We are not, even as of now, we are not ready for multi-party system.
Why don't you get out of the NUP?
They are being used by the president. They are being used by the dictator to disorient and create false hope. Why don't we amend the constitution, remove these multi-parties, because I know even NRM will support it, and have people contesting on individual merit, and from there we can unify ourselves under a charismatic leader and force this regime to its end. Thank you very much.
In a second,
yes, my land friend has made a very fatal and poisonous submission. It is contrary to the constitution. Article 1 provides that power belongs to the people. A third article, defense of the constitution. The compound of those provisions is that we cannot afford to sit by and watch. The fate of our country is in our hands. The destiny of our country is in our hands. My friend Amanya Roland shared with me some piece of information, and I beg that you allow me to read it for the
real quick.
That 1% control the world, 4% are their puppets, 90% are asleep, 5% know and try to wake the 90%. The 1% use the 4% to prevent the 5% from waking up the 90%. What category do you fall in? The submissions of Land Council are trying to encourage us to fall within the 90%.
Okay,
to fall asleep. I beg the people of Uganda not to fall asleep. Let us be awake and fight for the destiny of our country, because we are being led by a dynasty.
Thank you. Henry Nwamanya, your parting shot.
Of course, I will not depart from what I said. I'm glad that Peter Mbaka is revealing the major intentions of their party. He has drastically assured us that the president is using them to hoodwink Ugandans, that there is opposition when it's not. So Ugandans, I call upon you to respect the rule of law and do not take up arms as advised by some individuals. Otherwise you're going to be testing and touching the anus of a leopard, and you know what will happen with that and the effects to that. But I call upon you to take on the available democratic practices and processes that favor you to overrule whatever is in place as the governing institutions and the political parties. Do not seek for cheap things to vote people. If they give you the money, eat it, but go and vote the right people in the offices.
Thank you, Henry Nwamanya. Let me have Apollo Tumsime giving us his parting shot.
Thank you very much, Banyaji, and people who submitted on this show, especially the listeners. Earlier, Alon Spencer mentioned that, give an example of the uprising that took place in the Arab countries, Tunisia, Egypt, and some other countries that we saw. But I think in the setup that we have here, this may not work. One is that I already told you that the biggest population we have, these are village dwellers. So there is no way we will tell someone from my village in Kaitantoleje to come on the streets of Mbarawa and Kampala to start an uprising. That is not going to happen. And then the youth that we have around Kampala city or whatever, we saw what happened last time when there were protests on the arrest of Bobby Wine. We had over 50 people being killed, murdered, and that one was a scare to the entire population that you cannot joke. Actually, President Museveni called it that the original NRA because it's the one in control. I mean, all those methods, you can think about them, but I don't think they can work in the current setting that we have here. So what we want to do is we want to go down there. I still hold the values of the party, of the NT. We suggest that we go down there and we talk to these people and we show them that we really need a new Uganda, like the rhetoric of Dr. Besigye is trying to bring now. We need a new Uganda where we have money, we have better health services, we have everything in our control, but we cannot just go on the streets. Let's just try to use the democratic processes that are available. We participate in the forthcoming election, but most importantly, we should make sure that General Mhozi doesn't become the president of Uganda. This is something I'm going to take up myself, and I'm going to work on it so that he doesn't become the president.
Thank you, Apollo Tumsime. Yes, Spencer.
Thank you very much. When Museveni killed his own political party and he himself became NRM, that's when political parties were killed. So someone has said that Ugandans are dying with the noop. I think this is very ridiculous. Kubanga NUP is not there as well. The same situation NUP is the FDC is, and for NUP it is very, very worse, I can tell you. And I think we shall have some other time to discuss about it. You discussed about Mpuga here, my friend Peter Mpaka, and I think we should get to understand. And then someone says that Besigye should leave. Besigye should leave the mantle. The guy is 68. The man he has been challenging is now 80 something, though he tried to stretch the age and whatnot for personal interests. So Besigye is here to stay until he liberates the country. As we all understand, he's a man of his word. He's a man of impeccable character. All he has gone through, the Ugandans have seen. So we should embrace him. And Mr. Mpaka has said...
Very lastly.
Mr. Mpaka, my friend, has said that he's looking for a way how he can embrace Besigye Part 2. This is what we are doing. A coalition is very possible. Even if Besigye is front Kyagulanyi, it is okay. I have told you the man is not
Thank
selfish.
you. Thank you.
That's what we should understand.
Thank you, Mahandela Spencer.
Yes.
Thank you, Henry Nwamanya. Thank you, Peter Mpaka. Thank you, Bwenja Deuslidi. Thank you, Apollo Tumsime. My punchline this week is please go for the vaccine. Go and get a yellow fever jab. So that you can be as safe as you can. Trust the healthcare system of Uganda. My name is Besigye Besigye. We have news at the top of the hour. Don't touch your radio at all because Crooze FM has the best programming. Have a very fantastic weekend. For God and my country, God bless you. We're out of here. Till next Saturday, good morning.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of this radio station or its management.
This radio is regulated by Uganda Communications Commission, UCC.